Okay, we're live. Hello, welcome to the Monday, June 20th assembly of the City of Tullahoma Planning Commission meeting. I am the Vice Chair, Paul Schwer, sitting in for Chairman Greg Stanlin. At this time, I'll call this meeting to order. And seeing 6 present, that is determination of a quorum. And at this time, I'll ask everyone to rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Moving on to the next item is the approval of the minutes from the May 16th meeting. If I could get a motion to approve.
Move to approve the minutes.
Got a motion from Mayor Noes and second from Daniel Berry. Discussion. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. 6-0. Minutes passed. All right, reports from officers and staff. First off, before we start the report, just congratulations to Ms. Mary Samaniego on her recent promotion from the last board meeting. And at this time, I'll turn the floor over to her and let her in for reports.
Thank you very much, Paul. I appreciate that. Mary Samaniego, now the planning director. As Paul stated, I was promoted to fill Winston Brooks' position. It was previously called community development director. We've renamed it to planning director, so that means that now I will begin the hiring process to find a new senior planner to fill my now vacant position. So I'm honored and happy with the promotion. I think it's an exciting time to be in Tullahoma with the comp plan about to be adopted and the code changes and a lot of new development that I know is coming on the horizon, hopefully within this year. So it's an exciting time to be here, and I'm ready to get to work. Other than that, I will remind you also, Planning Commission members, that we are having our adoption hearing for the Think Tullahoma 2040 plan on the evening of July 7th at 4:30 in this room. It is a public hearing. The public is invited. Per our rules and procedures, the public each have 2 minutes to speak about the content of the plan in its final red line form. A copy of that plan is on the Think Tullahoma 2040 website that you can find through the City of Tullahoma government website. Saying that, I have nothing further to contribute.
Okay, thank you, Mary. All right, moving on to, there is no old business, so we will open with new business. For first note for the new business is the first 2 items on the agenda have been removed and continued to the July 18th meeting. The first being the Legacy Preserve Major Subdivision Preliminary Plat has been continued per the applicant to the July 18th meeting. Do we need to have a public hearing on that still?
Yes, if you want to open it up to the public, if there's anybody here from the public that wants to comment on the continuation request for Legacy Preserve.
Okay, at that time, I'll open up the public for comments to the Legacy Preserve Major Subdivision Preliminary Plat. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to continue to July 18th. I got a motion from Mr. Berry. Second. I'll give Mr. Rice the second on that. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. That passes 6-0 to continue to the July 18th meeting. Same situation for the Tisha Estates. At this time, I'll open up the floor for any public comments on the major subdivision plot for preliminary plat for Tisha Estates. Again, it's been continued to the July 18th meeting. Anyone from the public care to speak? All right, I will close the public hearing. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to continue to the July 18th meeting. Mr. Berry. Mr. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, 6-0. That will move to the July 18th meeting as well. The next item on the agenda is the Lynchburg Mansion minor subdivision machine. I'm sorry. Lynchburg Machine minor subdivision. It's a plat to create 3 lots from the existing 2.94 acres at 707 William Northern Boulevard. The applicant is Lynchburg Machine Incorporated. At this time, I will open up the floor to the public hearing. All right.
Is an applicant here to represent the case? Please.
Oh, yes, that's.
Darrell Welch, get my address, is that what I have to do?
No, just your name.
Okay, I'm just here as a real estate agent representing Lynchburg Machine Incorporated. 2 lots, the back of the old hangar that he's fixed up at the airport, looks great now. And that's it in a nutshell.
Okay,
Any questions for me? Anything I need to know? All right.
Thank you. And is it to staff now?
No, now it's public.
Now public, okay. Anyone from the public care to speak on that? All right, hearing none, I will turn it over to staff for a briefing.
Thank you. I'm going to my PowerPoint. Thank you, production. Here is the subject property. It is located at 707 William Northern Boulevard. It is approximately 2.94 acres. The applicant is proposing to cut it into 3 lots. Lot 1, which is vacant, would be 0.49 acres with 125 feet of lot width. Lot 2 is another vacant lot to the south, which is 0.45 acres with 117 feet of lot width at the road. And then the remaining property that has the refurbished hangar on it would be on 2 acres with 40 feet of lot width. Those dimensions of the proposed lots meet the minimum standards of the existing industrial 1, restricted manufacturing and warehousing district standards. Sewer and water and electricity will be provided from Tullahoma Utility Authority. There's nothing really remarkable about this site. It does have road frontage on 3 sides, but there's no floodplain, there's no wetlands. Other than that, there are no changes between final adoption and the signature. So with that, staff recommends approval of the final plat.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
All right, got a motion from Mr. Mayor Noes and second from Mr. Comer. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 6-0. Motion passes. All right. Next on the agenda is the zoning map amendments. Zoning map amendment number 262 request. I will open up the public hearing. The applicant's the city of Tullahoma, so do you go first now? Okay.
Yeah, Mary Samaniego for the record. This is a rezoning application that's being brought forward by the city of Tullahoma. This is a 2.3 acre site, if we can go, thank you, production, to the property. It is 95 Avoca Lake Road. So if the Planning Commission remembers, I believe at their May meeting, you approved an annexation of this property into the city limits from Coffee County, and subsequently, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen also adopted that annexation. So now that the property has been annexed, we have to convert it from a county zoning district into a city of Tullahoma zoning district. So in the county, it was zoned RS1. In the city, it will be zoned R1. It meets all the minimum standards. The lot itself meets all the minimum standards for the R1 zoning district within the city. I've referenced for you in your staff report on pages 11, 12, and 13, findings of fact in compliance with statute and code. So saying that, I recommend that you vote to send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen based on the findings of fact for Section 1006E of the City of Tullahoma zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Mary. At this time, I'll open up to public forum. If anyone would like to speak on this motion, on this item. Hearing none, I will entertain any questions from the commission? From Mary? All right. Open up for a motion.
Move to approve.
All right. Motion from Mayor Noes and second from Mr. Berry. Any discussion? Okay. All right, I'll call to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. 6-0 again. Motion passes. All right. Moving on. Zoning map amendment number 263 request. The applicant is Josh Moore. Would he like to speak at this time?
Are you Mr. Moore?
Yes.
I thought that was you. Good timing.
Hey, how's it going?
Okay, I'm just, you're on the agenda for the zoning map amendment 263 to request to rezone the property at 701 East Grizzard Street from medium residential to high-density residential. Just tell us about your, what your plans are there.
Yeah, so there's a house there now that is not livable, that needs to come down. So eventually maybe get some apartments over there.
Okay.
I don't have a set timetable or anything, but something needs to be done with the house. And yeah, so I've done a project across the street with Country Club apartments there that went well and cleaned them up, and they look real good. So do something similar across the street there.
Okay. Thank you. Did you give his name for the record? Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Moore?
Well, yes, of course, the property on either side of you is R1, and you don't have any plans for this property, but you're requesting to zone it to R3. If you don't have any plans for the property, why are you wanting to change the zoning?
Well, I do have plans. I just don't have a timetable on as to how quick I'm going to be able to do something over there with builders and stuff like that.
And you do know that on either side of you is R1,
Yes.
okay? Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll open up the public forum. Does anyone from the public care to speak on this item? All right. Hearing none, I'll turn it over to Ms. Mary Samaniego.
Thank you. Again, this is a rezoning application for two separate properties at 701 East Grizzard Street and 406 North College Street. He is requesting to rezone the property from R2, medium density residential, to R3, which is high density residential. The two lots combined is approximately 0.5 acres. Currently has a conforming use of a single-family house. Here is the zoning map of the property. The subject property is in the black boxes. To the north and to the east of the property is R2 zoning. And then to the direct west is R3, and then to the south is R4, which is also high-density residential / mobile home park. Looking at the comprehensive plan, it is in an area of medium-density residential that allows for both the R2 and R3 zoning categories. Given its location within the city and its proximity to the R3 and R4 zoning districts, as well as the existing development pattern kind of in this immediate area, which is a mix of mobile homes, there's a church, single-family houses, duplexes, and apartments. And based on the findings of fact found on page 21, staff as recommending a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen based on the findings of fact of Section 1006E of the City of Tullahoma zoning ordinance. Do you have any questions for me?
Mary, I got a question for you. The TUA Water and Sewer has requested a 25-foot utility easement. How is that reflected in here?
Where do you, What page are you referring to?
31?
On page what?
31?
No, we're on 7B2.
I'm sorry.
We're on the rezoning request from R2 to R3,
Yeah. never-
starting on page 19.
Excuse me.
It's okay.
All right, I have no question then.
Okay.
I just turned too far. All right, I'll entertain a motion. I got a motion from Mr. Berry.
Second.
Motion for approval. All right, any discussion? All right, I will call vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none. It's 6-0. Motion passes for a request to favorable request for the zoning to the Board of Mayor Aldermen. Let me take just a second to get on the right page here.
We should be on page 30.
Yes. All right. All right. Moving on to the surplus property requests for public hearing. First item up, East Deckard Street surplus property request. At this time, the applicant, anybody from the applicant's party want to speak on this issue?
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Jeremy Dameron. I put in and discussed with Mary about trying to get this rezoned, or surplus, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm currently building a house on 415 East Deckard, and within the zones, if I build the porch on it, if I put the porch on it, I'm too close to it, so we looked into trying to rezone it, and I went to the other applicants, Keith Hasty at 323 South Anderson, and then Walker Oil, and the neighbor 405, Mrs. Brackley, and they all signed a petition that they would like to have their surplus as well.
Okay. What property did you say you're at?
415 East Deckard.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? All right, thank you. It's a public hearing, so I'll open up the floor to the public. Anyone from the public want to speak on this issue? All right, turn it over to Ms. Mary Samaniego.
Okay, thank you, Mary Samaniego. Again, as you stated, this is a surplus request of city property. We'll go to the map. Specifically, all the property owners within this block of East Deckard Street, which is the 400 block on both sides of the road, are applicants for this surplus property. East Deckard Street is classified as a local road, which typically, through the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, has a 50-foot right-of-way. However, existing right-of-way for East Deckard Street is 100 feet wide. So it is wider than it is anticipated to ever be needed. So because of that, as well as, if you can see, I provided you with this aerial, some of the existing developments are very close to that existing front property line. So that will impede them from ever being able to add on to the structures in the front, or as Mr. Dameron's case, he is the far northern piece here to even build at all, because there's such a wide right-of-way that's in fact in the front yard, and then you have another 25-foot setback from that. With, again, it's kind of extra property in the right-of-way, in effect. So all the parties along that stretch of road got together. It is the city's preference and the Board of Maine Aldermen's preference that entire blocks of roads be requested for surplus, as opposed to an individual property, do whole sections of roadways at a time. So that's why we have all the property owners as applicants. I sent it through all of the different utilities, and TUA, Sewer and Water, would like a 25-foot easement for any possible lines that may be within that area or need to be within that area. But again, that 25-foot utility easement would also be the same area as a front yard setback, which would be unbuildable anyway. So saying that, and based on the fact that, again, through the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, which is our guiding document for existing and future roadways, it's not anticipated that this right-of-way would ever be needed to be larger than 50 feet. So saying that, staff supports a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with the surplus right-of-way deeded to the adjoining property owners.
Okay, thank you, Mary. So on page 34 of our packet here, all the signatures are there. After this goes to the, we're sending some favorable approval to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
That is right.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mary? All right, I'll entertain a motion. Got a motion for favorable recommendation? Okay. All right. A motion from Barry and a second from Mr. Hall. Any discussion? All right, I will call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. Agenda item number 7C2, the 127 West Lincoln Street surplus property request. Request for the city to designate as surplus real property for sale, 127 West Lincoln Street. Applicant is the city of Tullahoma. So, Mary, would you like to speak on this?
Yes, thank you. Mary Samaniego for the record. Let's go to our presentation, please. Thank you. The city currently owns property addressed at 127 West Lincoln Street. The city accepted donation of the vacant building and property in October of 2019 as a final settlement and litigation against the property owner who had severely neglected maintenance of the structure and the property. The city performed a structural analysis in the interest of preserving the mid-block structure of downtown Tullahoma. The building was evaluated and assessed for structural integrity of the building, and 2 architects provided opinion of the probable cost to repair the building and bring it into compliance with property maintenance codes and building codes. Noted problems include a roof that appears to be in poor condition with leaks observed in the interior. Exterior brick facade is in need of a significant brick removal and remortaring, and deficiencies in structural support system. The city staff has worked on a number of partnership ideas and research grant opportunity to improve the building, but was significantly delayed because of COVID-19 that began in early 2020. Overall, the last 2 years, none of the proposed concept redevelopments of the property materialized into anything that's really a feasible project. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen and the City Administrator request to have the property declared as surplus real property so that they may proceed with soliciting redevelopment proposals from private citizens and entities. The intent is to solicit proposals that would include a description of a redevelopment plan and intended future use, a project timeline, and a proposed acquisition cost. Understanding that there may be significant financial costs to the redevelopment, the proposed purchase price will not be the sole determining factor for the sale. The board intends to instead to consider an approval of a transfer of property to a new owner within the best overall redevelopment proposal. There were no comments and concerns from the reviewing agencies, and saying that staff supports a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with the surplus property being offered for sale as prescribed in Chapter 4, Section 20 of the City of Tullahoma Code of Ordinances, and that exterior building facade changes be subject to city approval as part of the transfer of property requirements.
Good, thank you, Mary. Any questions for Mary?
Just a quick comment. Thank you. This has been kind of a pain point for me since 2020, and I'm extremely happy to see this finally up. I'd like to motion that as well.
Oh, you're not, we got to, it's
Public.
this is a public hearing, so anyone from the public care to speak at this item of the agenda? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion. I got first a motion for a recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen from Mr. Berry. Second from Mr. Noes, Mr. Mayor Noes. All right, any discussion? I will add to Mr. Berry's thing that this is a good move for the city, I think. All right, with that, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. All right, next item up is 7C3, the 411 East Carroll Street surplus request. The applicant, again, is the city of Tullahoma, so I will turn it over to Ms. Samaniego to
Thank you, sir. This is 411 East Carroll Street, owned by the city of Tullahoma. It is approximately 2.6 acres. The city is requesting to surplus the property and the land with the building. The city acquired the property in March of 2016. The existing building was constructed in 1940 and is a total of 92,830 square feet. There is, as I stated, an existing building with parking lots, ingress and egress from East Carroll Street, South Corner Street, and East Volney Street. The property is currently general commercial C2. The Rock 10 paper and packaging plant, formerly the Crescent Box and Printing Company of Tullahoma, was in business since 1973, closed in September of 2015 following the corporate merger of Norcross, Georgia-based Rock 10 and the Richmond, Virginia-based Meade West Vaco Corporation, creating the new entity West Rock. The closure resulted in the property reverting to the city of Tullahoma and the loss of approximately 50 jobs. In 2016, the city administrator initiated a lease from the former Rock 10 building to a business that was committing to provide no fewer than 25 jobs and accepting responsibility for the general maintenance of the facility. For the last years, the city of Tullahoma has leased the warehouse facility on the property to the current tenant. The current lease has expired, with neither party exercising an option to renew under the current terms. Additionally, the executive director of both the Coffee County Industrial Board and TAEDC and the state of Tennessee Economic and Community Development officials have reported that warehouse space is the most frequently requested need of existing and prospective industries. The current lease generates $15,000 in annual revenue. However, the city has significant pending liability due to the age and condition of the structure and specifically the roof. St. John Engineering performed a visual inspection of the property and has provided a recommendation that the total replacement of the roof and repair of the portions of the substructure need to be addressed in the near term. Sale of the property is anticipated to generate the greatest public benefit and will result in new revenue for the city, potentially as a direct result of the sale and indirectly through recruitment of new jobs and a new capital investment of the site. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen have authorized the mayor, city administrator, and city attorney to negotiate lease or sale of the facility with both the existing tenant and other interested parties. There are no conditions or extenuating comments from city staff or TUA staff, so saying that, the Tullahoma staff supports a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, with the surplus property being offered for sale or lease as prescribed in Chapter 4, Section 20 of the City of Tullahoma Code of Ordinances.
All right, thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Public hearing, so I'll open up the floor if anyone from the public would like to speak. All right. Again, hearing none. Close the public hearing. I will entertain a
Move to
motion.
approve.
Mr. Ray Noes, and a second by Mr. Berry. Motion is to send a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Any comments or discussion? All right, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, motion passes 6-0. All right. Next item on the agenda is 7D1, subdivision text amendment number 8. And the applicant again is the city of Tullahoma, so I will turn it over to Ms. Samaniego for the representation from the city.
Thank you, sir. Again, Mary Samaniego for the record. Staff is proposing a new section to the Tullahoma subdivision regulations to create regulations for lots adjoining riparian buffer areas. The proposals are as follows. One, to clarify the applicability of riparian buffers within existing city stormwater regulations when properties are divided. And two, to allow the development of property adjoining riparian buffer relief from a portion of the minimum lot size requirements of the zoning ordinance. There are significant portions of the city of Tullahoma that are regulated as protective waters under the city stormwater regulations. If you see in your packet attachment 2, which is the last page of your packet, anything that is in hatch marks is typically a protected water. Those are your main rivers, streams, tributaries that are typically blue lined on a topo map, as well as wetlands. These protected waters are already regulated under the City of Tullahoma stormwater regulations. In those regulations, it specifically says when subdivided based on the drainage area of that body of water, you either have to provide a 30-foot buffer or a 60-foot buffer. The first portion of this proposed text amendment in the subdivision regulations is to pull that exact language, copy it from the stormwater regulations and put it in the subdivision regulations, so it's clear when somebody is a developer, somebody's coming to subdivide property within the city of Tullahoma, it's right there in the subdivision regulations, as opposed to having to know to look in the stormwater regulations to find out what the buffer distances are and what the criteria are. So that's kind of the first part, is an ease of use thing to put everybody on alert that there's special regulations when you subdivide property if you're joining a protected water. The second part of the proposed amendments came through a meeting with several local developers who I think intend to speak during the public comment period at one of our weekly development advisory committee meeting. They were seeking some relief from the riparian buffer standards. The specific issue is that the riparian buffers cannot be included in, thus reducing the amount of overall development area within development. Staff is proposing that this subdivision regulation revision to maintain the existing city stormwater regulations while providing some density relief for private property subdividers. With the proposed revision, the developer can count the adjoining required riparian buffer area towards their minimum lot size calculation to ensure that newly subdivided lots still have adequate building envelopes. No actual lot size can be less than half the zoning district minimum. If we can go to my presentation, I've made a slideshow to kind of make practical sense of what I just said, applicable sense. So here is a development that is within the city of Tullahoma. If you can see but you can't see my cursor on the screen, but if you pick the fourth house from the left, I believe it is, you can see that the rear property line is relatively close to the house, and then there's that long strip of property there. That long strip of property is the entire common area for the riparian buffer on either side. So that would be, here's the body of water through here, and then this pink area that I've highlighted is actually a 30-foot buffer. So if this lot was 12,000 square feet, minimum lot size for the R1 zoning district, your typical lot dimensions are 75 feet wide and 160 feet deep to make a 12,000 square foot lot. The riparian buffer area immediately adjoining this property is 30 feet deep because it has a drainage area of less than a mile, so it's a 30-foot buffer, and its width is 75 feet wide because the lot width is 75 feet wide. With the new proposals, that 30 by 75 square foot area is approximately 2,250 square feet. So they can count that 2,250 square feet towards the 12,000 square foot minimum lot size of the zoning district. So the actual lot size for theoretical lot 1 that we're looking at is only 9,750 square feet. Staff feels comfortable with this proposal. I think it meets the intent of the comprehensive plan, the zoning and subdivision regulations. As you're viewing this property, because of the riparian buffer area, it has to be common open space. Visually, it would not look like those lots are smaller than any other standard R1 zoning lot. It would just appear to be backyard in practical application. But in some extreme circumstances, if it's a large enough drainage area, there are instances where a developer, you've got your body of water, and then from the top of bank, you would have to go out 60 feet on either side. And then your private property lines would have to start, and then you've got your rear setback and then your building envelopes. So that can take a significant portion of land out of potential development. So given the city's desire to maintain and requirement really to maintain the city's stormwater regulations, but then also to try to provide some relief for development along these kind of environmentally encumbered areas, staff has come up with this option. Do you have any specific questions for me at this time?
Mary, is it possible to build in that area?
No.
It has to remain open.
Yes, that area, under the current regulations and under the proposed regulations, has to be left in its undisturbed and natural state, and it's within common areas. So that riparian buffer is not individual property. It is in common open space, required to be maintained by either the original developer or the homeowners association. So really, the only change from the current code to this proposed code is that the actual lots that are abutting riparian buffer areas can have a smaller lot size. But the setbacks and all other requirements are the same.
This may be a question for later, but how are you defining the lot lines? Because I mean, it says that you can include it in there, but I mean, does it have to be? There's nothing in the text that says it has to be perpendicular, or extended the lot line. And is it up to the stream itself, and not across the stream, and things like that to limit the use of this?
Right. I did have that in a draft of in one of the drafts, that you have to go by parallel lines. I thinned it out just to make it simpler, that it has to be directly adjoining the riparian buffer. We can certainly massage this language. I guess I've always assumed it would be on your side of the creek. So it was never my intent that if there's 30 feet from either side of a creek, that you couldn't count the entire thing, that you would only do your half. So we can add that language in there to make sure it's clear.
No, I'll motion for that.
Okay.
Can I add a comment on that?
Of course.
So TDEC will define buffer, and it's not center line of creek, it's top of bank. So buffer will push. That's
right.
what defines your pink area.
Right, that's right. So it could never jump, because actually the riparian buffer area is the property line 30 feet, then nothing, then just the water body, then the beginning of the next riparian buffer of 30 feet on the other side of the body of water. Thank you.
And exclusive per lot, right? You can't use your neighbors.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you can't. And then I also put the clause in there to make sure that the development community didn't try to start bringing in these very small lots, to make sure that we still have viable buildable lots, that you can never go less than half of the minimum lot size. So if it's a 12,000 square foot minimum lot size, the practical lot itself can never be less than 6,000 square feet, and then they still have to comply with the same setbacks.
Yeah, how does the setback work?
Same setbacks, so 25 front, 25 back, 10 on each side.
From their lot line,
From their lot line,
not the
yeah.
top of the bank. Okay. Does it say that in there?
It doesn't say anything other than that.
Okay.
So it's silent on the matter. So then if legal language is silent, then you refer to as it's written.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to call you about this earlier today, but I never had any
That's
chance.
okay. No, it's good that we work it out here.
Okay. All right. This is a public hearing, so any other questions for Mary? I'm sorry. All right. I will open up the public hearing for comments on this. Mr. Howard?
Well, I guess I should be quiet. It sounds like it's what I'm asked for, but let me be clear, Mary. It is, if I've got, right now we're asking for a 60-foot setback on the development we're doing on Ledford Mill. We have been asking for a 60-foot setback from wetlands, which has already been determined. The wetland line has been determined where it is. And the previous, the order was that we have to back up 60 feet off of that and put our stakes in or our lot line. Now you're saying we can use 50% of that area, no more than 50% of that in our lot. We can
Yes.
move our lot line back to the wetland property line.
No. So what I'm saying is that you have your wetland delineation line, for your instance, then you've got your 60-foot riparian buffer, which is in common open space, and then at the end of that 60-foot riparian buffer area is your lot line. So the individual property owners are not owning any of the riparian buffer area. However, that area that that 60-foot riparian buffer area that's kind of perpendicular to that lot, you can calculate that into meeting your 10,000 square foot minimum lot size. So you kind of draw an imaginary line back.
It can be counted even though the lot line is up there, but
Right, even though it's not included.
Then you've got to still deal with the 25-foot setback or whatever in
Exactly,
the
you
back.
still have the same rear
front and
setback.
back.
Correct.
Okay.
So you would draw an imaginary line, or a surveyor would draw an imaginary line back to that 60-foot area, and be like, if the lot was 100 feet wide, 6,000 square feet, but you still got to meet less than half of your minimum lot size. So if you're 10,000 square foot minimum lot size, you couldn't deduct out all 6,000 square feet, because that would only leave you 4,000 square feet. You'd have to have at least 5,000.
The only thing that, of course, naturally I would disagree with all, but thank you for that much help. That does help a lot. But for the board's information, we have a wet plan situation on Ledford Mill. We've already written that off. And now what happens is it's good land that adjoins it. And then what happens, you're asking me to give you 60 feet of that to stay off the wetlands. It's never going to be touched. So that's where we're at as developers. I've already given all this wetland up. And to give you another 60 feet hurts. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Anyone else from the public care to speak? This time I'll close the public hearing.
I'll say something. Daryl Welch with Heart and Realty. We had a good discussion at the development meeting, and there were just more than just us two in there. There was a lot of people in there. We had a really good discussion about it, and I think this is a good compromise. So I appreciate all the work that you've done to try to make that work, Mary.
All right, thank you. Last chance. All right, I'll close the public hearing. At this time, I'll entertain a motion. I got a motion from Barry.
Second.
Second from Mr. Comer. Discussion amongst the board.
Quick comment. Daryl, Mr. Welch just kind of touched on it. What's not written in here, I think, is kind of a testament to our new director and the building community as a whole. I think the coolest part about this is the mayor attended that meeting as well, is the building community got together. They had an issue. They talked with Director Samaniego, the city administrator was there, and we were able to find, instead of finding ways to say no, Director Samaniego found a compromise in a way to say yes. And I think a lot of times you don't get that out of just the staff reports and the pieces there. But I think thank you for that, the mayor for your support in that, and thank you to, there were a lot more than just these two there, but thank you to the building, the development community for getting together, and I'd love to see a lot. I think we're going to do a lot more of that. Sometimes the codes are awful, not awful, but sometimes they're kind of old and outdated. But when we bring them up in a place like that, that gives the opportunity to say, you know what, this isn't really working. Let's find a way that we can achieve both end results that we're looking for. So thank you to everyone who was involved in that.
Yes, and thank you, and I'll add to that, when some of the developers approached me, I explained that the pre-approval process is to, all codes can be under review. The legislative language is alive, as it were. So if there's a problem with the code, I can't guarantee anything, but tell me what the problem with the code is, tell me what the practical application issue you're having. Some codes we can't change because it's federal law or state law or case law or this, that, and the other. But we can see if we can still maintain the intent of the law while at the same time we're leaving some of the practical application issues. And I think that's what we've achieved here today.
Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Speaking of the law, as Mr. Worsham had, you reviewed this and you're, okay. Anything else? All right, this time I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the subdivision regulation for the riparian buffer areas? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes 6-0. With that, that concludes our agenda. Our next meeting on this sheet is Monday, July 18th, but I would like to remind everyone that we have the adoption hearing for the Tullahoma 2040 plan on July 7th at 4:30 in this room. And with that, that is